If you've been dealing with hip or low back pain and nothing you've tried is actually fixing it, there's a really good chance you're missing one of the most overlooked muscles in the body. It's your psoas. We see this all the time. People come in with pain in the back of the hip, near the glute, in through here, pain on the Psoas, the bone in the back, or even pain in the front of the hip near the groin or the bone in the front. Some people don't even have pain in the front at all, which is why this gets missed so often. And here's the problem. You can stretch, you can mobilize, you can even strengthen your hip, but nothing changes because you're not actually treating the source. In this video, I'm going to show you how to tell if your psoas or your iliacus is the real problem, the patterns we see in our evaluations, and a simple way to start getting some relief today. So why does this get missed? This gets missed because we go to the side of the pain, which happens all the time. So you're only looking at that side of the pain. You're not looking at how everything is connected. And that's often what happens all the time in our healthcare system. And so if even when we go in and we look at all these different symptoms that people have, they may not have all the symptoms. They may have only part of the symptoms. And you have to find someone that really can help connect all the dots to you to really figure it out, as well as a step-by-step evaluation process. And that's what we do. We have a step-by-step evaluation process, something that others miss, and we are able to fix it. And so when we're looking at like common symptoms of pain, they may not even notice they have tightness in the front. They may not have any pain in the front at all. They could have pain in the front. We've had people that'll have pain like in the front part of the leg, kind of like in this adductor area. We've had people that'll have pain like in the front of the hip, close to the ASIS, which is that front hip bone here. They'll have pain in through here. They will have pain in the back of the hip. They could feel pain here. They could feel pain in their back. They could feel pain even like close to where that, we call it the Psoas, that bone that's in through there. These are all things that they could feel. And so, yeah, that could also be a back. That also could be a hip. It could be a lot of things. So when we're looking at all these things, we're like, okay, we have all these symptoms. Great. Tell us a little bit more. So when they start saying things like, they almost always have issues with sitting. Sitting is a problem. So you think, oh, possibly back. Yes, So we are going to be always looking at the back before we do anything else that we do, just to kind of rule it out. But you can also have a lot of pain with sitting when you have issues in the front of the hip. And we'll explain why a little bit later. So these are things that we all have to kind of look at. Now, sometimes people can walk and feel better with walking and not have any problems, and other people have problems with walking. So you never know. It's a lot of different symptoms, but it really comes down to the evaluation process, which is what helps us understand that. Now, when we look at things that could be common things that could give us problems in the evaluation, when we're looking at someone, some of the things that we'll notice is internal rotation can be not necessarily limited. It could be limited, but internal rotation is when we bring your leg out like this, that could be painful. It could be painful on some people. Some people, flexion could be like really blocked, or flexion could be limited. And so, not everyone. Sometimes people will have full range of motion in flexion, but it is common when we start seeing like, whoa, you can't move. Again, we might think that might be a back. That might also be a hip. And so we go through these processes to kind of figure some of those things out. Hip extension is limited, which makes sense if you have tightness in the front. It won't feel necessarily blocked. It'll just feel like it's hard to move. Other things you'll notice, like when people are sitting, one leg will be able to rotate out and the other one will look straight up. Again, telltale sign because they can't move in this direction. And why can't they move in this direction? Let's go into kind of the anatomy. So when we're looking at like the psoas goes from the front part of the spine all the way up, and it goes in and even it goes into kind of where your diaphragm is. So it'll come all the way down here and attaches to the inside of the leg bone, really close to the femoral head of it. And so You'll also have another muscle called the iliacus. The iliacus is when we have our pelvis in the front, the muscle is like, so you can feel the bone here, and we go on the inside of that bone, you're gonna know that's where the iliacus is, and it goes down and attaches to the same, really close to the same spot where your psoas is. You could have one issue, you could have both of them being issues, and we just know when we find out and we're like, whoa, you're really tight here. And that's how we know, like it's both of it. Sometimes it's one and sometimes it's both. So those are the reasons when we look at sitting being a problem with this, you're thinking like, why? You're shortening the muscle when you do this, but you're also, it's been pulling on that bone, and it could pull that bone where it's like not quite sitting exactly where it needs to be, and it becomes very, very uncomfortable. And so sitting with people like this always is a problem. So what do we do first to kind of figure this out? We always rule out the back. So we'll go in and we'll start mobilizing the back. They're either going to be doing press-ups in the back because sitting is a problem. A lot of times when they get up and start moving around, it can kind of ease up. They feel pretty stiff. But again, these all could be back stuff. Like you're not really sure. So when we go in and we mobilize the back, then and then we go back and retest the hip motions and there's no changes, we're pretty sure, okay, we've ruled out the back. Then we'll go in and we'll rule out the hip. So a lot of times if it's like you're limited in hip flexion, you could be limited in hip extension. A lot of times like rotation is not as big of a deal, but internal rotation, so external rotation usually isn't always a big deal. It can be sometimes, but not always. Internal rotation is just kind of painful. A lot of times we're moving into hip extension. So we'll do some repeated hip extension mobs. We might do some repeated hip extension, meaning like mobilizations. We take them and mobilize them, but they're literally just like mobilizing, getting that hip to kind of drop through. We do different things when we actually mobilize people, but like this is repeatedly like stretching it through here. When we notice that we're doing these mobilizations in the hip, and we're not getting any changes, the first thing that I go to is the psoas, especially when there's tightness there. And so we go in and we just start releasing, and it's deep, it's a deep muscle. So it's deep in through here that we're releasing through here. I'm gonna show you a stretch here in a second and releasing in through here, and then all of a sudden you'll notice like, wow, my hip flexion starts improving. I'm not having pain with internal rotation. Remember, your hip muscle, your psoas comes from here to here. So when you rotate, you can get a little bit of pain with that, but eventually it goes away when all that starts releasing. So that's kind of what we do and how we kind of go through our process. We literally had a client not too long ago, let's say not too long ago, it was like a week ago, and the doctors were like, yeah, we think she has a stress fracture in her front part of her hip, like in where her femoral head is. So if that's the femur, like in through here. So if that's the femur and this is where it goes into like where the pelvis is, she was having issues in through there. And the reason why they said that, they thought she had a stress fracture, is because when you look at MRIs, the swelling looks different when it's coming from like bone edema versus swelling from like a tissue when you're looking at that on an MRI. And so when we did that, we're like, okay, but that doesn't make sense because this particular person was tight for 1 week, and then they went and released all of where she felt tight. So she was tight, having pain in the front part here, and they're like, well, I think it's the quad muscle that comes up through here and attaches it in through here. I think that's where it is. She was getting tight in their hip. So they went and dry needle all these different areas, and then she hurt worse. And I'm like, that's because you took the protection away. So there's something that they're missing that's creating that tightness. And so when I went and saw her, literally I was like, okay, none of this makes sense. And first of all, like even if you had a stress fracture and you're off your sitting, you shouldn't have that much pain with a stress fracture just sitting and not moving, because your stress fracture happens from like repeated stress on the bone that actually creates that fracture. She didn't have it long enough. It's like 2 weeks before I saw her after going through a few things with another place. It was just 2 weeks, and then she got worse. And so you can't get a stress fracture in 2 weeks. More than likely, she had a little bit more of like a bone bruising from that area, from probably pulling from her psoas in that area. So We went in and we mobilized her back, no change. Mobilized her hip, no change. Went in and like she was super tight in the front, and then all of a sudden she got changes. Like her hip range of motion started improving, her back range of motion started improving. She was able to put more weight through that leg. Her strength started improving. All these baselines that we looked at started improving. And I was like, this wasn't what the doctor said, which was basically a quad tendonitis is what he said. I'm like, that's the symptom. The quad was the symptom. You were using this muscle instead of using your psoas and your iliacus for like hip flexion type activities. You were using your quad for that. That was taking over. And so that's, when you're looking at all these things and putting all these pieces together, you have to understand the body in order to do that. And you have to have an evaluation process that is like a step-by-step process to start ruling things in, ruling things out so that you can get to the true source. And that's really what we do at Empower Physical Therapy. And so she's doing great now and is definitely progressing because we found what the true source is. But again, there's a lot of different things that we're looking at. There's a lot of moving parts that could be back, could be hip, but that's how we go in and start ruling things out to realize, oh wow, it really is more hip flexor psoas. It's creating all of your things. Her next phase will be to start strengthening those muscles, to start getting them to fire so that her quad doesn't take over, which is where she was getting a lot of her tendonitis type stuff from it compensation that she was doing. So these are common things. These are things that we see all the time in our office. So what stretch did I give this particular client, or what stretch do I give my clients that have tightness in that front part of that hip? So we go in and release a lot of it. It's really hard to release yourself. You got to have someone else that can do that. But this is a stretch that I give them. So you're going to find a strap on your foot, and you really do need a strap because I'll show you why here in a second. So you'll put a strap on your foot. So I'm going to show you kind of on this side. You're going to want to be up against something, whether you're up against a couch or a table or something that's going to give you a little bit of support for balance. And you're going to take that hip and drive it as far forward as possible. That's what I want us to do. So we're going to give a really good hip stretch because we're really trying to open everything up through here. And then you're going to bring the leg up. You may barely bring the leg up. If you bring the leg up and you look like this, you need to not bring the leg up that far. I want that hip to come forward as far as possible and then bring that leg up and don't allow that hip to come up at all. So when you do this, then I want you to rotate that foot to the outside. So when we rotate it to the outside, we're really stretching where everything kind of attaches in for that hip flexor and that iliacus. And so you're just going to kind of hang out there and just breathe. And again, you're going to want to be up against something because you're going to have a hard time balancing and stretching at the same time. But this is a fantastic stretch to really start opening up everything in through the front part of that hip. It's going to get the hip immobilization for the hip joint itself, as well as stretching everything through the front part of that hip. This is why it's not about chasing pain. It's about understanding the patterns. And if you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working, then you're probably just missing the right piece of the puzzle. We help people find it. Click on the link below to schedule a free 30-minute call so that we can figure out if you're someone that we also can help and help you get to a better understanding or a better decision about what you want to do with your health.